All right. So my question is, when you go from, say, your English class to your math class to your science class to your CTE class, what connections do you make between those classes?
What I make between that is my life experiences and stuff like how I can relate to it and how I can understand and apply it to whatever we're doing in the future.
And do your teachers help you make those connections?
Some do, like Ms. Vaughn, for example. She helps me understand how to do math, and she tells me how to apply it for my living, like, you know, how to do insurance and stuff like that.
From class to class, the connections I can make are just the listening, and like each teacher seems to want the same thing, and just to be able to listen and get all your work done on time. And so through class to class, I can learn all those things and be prepared for future things. And it helps with my work ethic and whatnot.
Absolutely none at all. I mean, well, probably the biggest switch is between, like, for me, 4th, 5th, and 6th period, because it goes from English to Spanish to chemistry, and the tie between is very limited. Like, well, we don't really get an opportunity to, like, really use any mathematics or chemistry in English, and that's kind of just the nature of the subject. But like, for me, it would be a lot easier if I were able to actually, like, use mathematics outside of the mathematics classroom. Like some of the stuff that we do in chemistry really may tie into math somewhat, but ultimately, like, the concepts I'm learning in math are not related at all to chemistry or biology. And then the structure of the day too is also a really important thing, because if I go into, for instance, Spanish class, then there's a very structured day, but then I go into English class and we'll be doing something that I wasn't aware of, and it's not really the same. So I guess, like, I really have to really adjust my, like, learning strategies for each class. So when I go into Spanish, I know what I'm supposed to do, and then I'll have, like, a pretty straightforward plan of action. But, like, then I go into English, and then I kind of have to adjust on the fly, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be learning.
There were some things that I saw somewhere between them, like my maths and science classes, because they use the same general equations. And then with English and history, I was able to make connections with reading and actual historic events and kind of piece them together. And of course, history with science for the same general reason, just the history of the sciences, like where it all started, where the equations came from.
And did your teachers do things to help you make those connections, or did you just have to kind of do that on your own?
Generally, through the note-taking, there'd be, like, some, like, comparisons between the two, or some of the classes, like what equations would be needed and what it would look like in a different math setting for science, or the history of the sciences, where, like, it originated, who led on to those discoveries.
The biggest connection is that they're all AP classes, or they're mostly AP classes at least, and so because it's all run by the College Board and AP Central, that kind of stuff, they all have a similar kind of logic to them, but even within different classes, because the tests are different, there are different strategies that are used and taught.
No. There's outside, you go inside, and they're not connected at all.
Throughout all my classes, I just try to relate them to my life personally, how I can use what's going on in the class in my real life, and things outside of school.
And what do you think is the goal that your high school has set for you as a student?
I don't know.
The goal for Heritage High School is for me to have an understanding how to apply this for my living outside of school, and helps me to learn how to be successful and be able to apply this to my living again.
To graduate? They want you to graduate and learn things and do good on tests. Well, they want me to be experienced, so I can go to a place and they can trust that I'll be good at what they want me to do. And like, I'm an orchestra, I'm a violin player, and a lot of what I do in there can really help me in the future with finding jobs and just having a good life.
And how so?
Well, I'm a leader in the whole orchestra, so I take on the top role besides the teacher. So I'm basically learning how to teach, and that will help me a lot. And I've been asked to be in the Clark Orchestra just because of, he knows, the leader just knows I'm really committed to what I'm doing in that class, and it will show in when I'm there in his class.
Probably to make it in life, be successful, really obtain the goals that you're setting for yourself throughout your years, whatever they might be.
I think that they're just trying to get us to have a grasp of what's going to actually happen outside of school and try to help us realize what it's going to be like outside of high school and outside of college in a real life when we're older and have real jobs. So.
Okay. And you think you're prepared for a real job?
I believe so. I think I can handle
Excellent.
it for the most part.
I don't think that they're preparing me to be a 21st century citizen. Right now, I think the way that my high school is structured, there's no technology integration, there's no integration of my interests. I'm not preparing to do anything different from what my parents prepared to do, and yet the workforce that I'm thinking I'm going to enter is completely different. Right now, I'm learning things that I honestly think I will never use again, and I'm not just saying that because it's like the common high school response, but because I actually legitimately think that. Like, I think at this point I have a solid enough foundation in subjects like history and English that I don't think that what I'm learning right now is applicable to the rest of my life, and I think at this point I should be able to explore my own interests further instead of just preparing for a standardized test.
Basically, they're teaching us how to, like, on the computer, they do computer works and stuff, and they're teaching us how to apply that, because in work businesses, for example, it teaches you how to do all these different things on technology for the computers.
I'm not.
Because? You say that with confidence.
I'm only a freshman. I have things to learn.
And what do you think you would need to learn to be ready to go into the world of work?
Probably a little bit more math and work on my spelling.
My school has Project Lead the Way, which is a big engineering and science kind of program. The class I'm in right now is Principles of Engineering, and it's probably the most education that's going to prepare me for the future that I've had, other than just strict academics.
And what about it is going to prepare you?
We've learned how to do sorts of teamwork and stuff that are consistent and applicable to other sorts of projects. And we've done other things like being able to work with computers and robotics that are coming and emerging into the modern world and becoming commercially available and that kind of thing. So in Principles of Engineering, our teacher views us much more as independent than in other classes. Instead of saying, this is the concept we're trying to work on, here are some strategies that you might want to use to do it, he'll just give us a problem, like a build project or something like that, and say, go find a solution. And it's really nice because you can come up with some ideas that you think are going to be able to solve this problem, and even if they don't, you've known that that's a mistake. And I think when teachers just teach how to do it instead of letting you try and find that out, you know how to do it sort of, but I mean, if you make a mistake, you can go back to it and you'll be like, that was a really dumb mistake, but why not be able to make the mistake and understand it, and then you have a more solid understanding of what the actual problem is and how the solution's going to work.
And when you don't know how to do it and you make a mistake, what are some strategies that you're a teacher or that you have discovered that helps you solve the problem?
We'll do some, we have computers available in the classroom, and so we're able to research if we need to. Obviously, that's not available everywhere, but we can ask him specific questions, and if it's a question that's not like, how do we solve this problem? If it's something that we've formulated out and we have a specific idea that we need clarified, he'll help us out with that. Also, we'll just do trial and error, testing different systems that we think are going to be able to solve this problem, and we'll modify them based on the results we get. So.
And how do you think that those strategies are going to help prepare you for the world of work that you're going into?
I think it's going to help because in the world that I'm going into, there's not always going to be a teacher that's there to tell you, what the answer is. You're going to have to find an answer, sometimes without any help at all. So I think it's good because that has helped me be able to have that kind of problem-solving ability.
So what do you think Oprah would say that you're most prepared for in this world?
Oprah would definitely say that, you're a very good people person. You have anger problems, but it's okay because everyone has difficulties. She would say to not give up and to graduate and to get up in the morning and keep going and be nice